Stop talking right now. You're telling people things that are going to destroy you. You think you're just having conversations, making friends, being honest, building trust. You're not. You're handing knives to people and showing them exactly where to stab. Machiavelli spent his life in the courts of power, watching empires rise and fall. And he noticed something that most people never see. The powerful barely speak. The weak never shut up. Every successful person he studied had one thing in common. They knew what to never say out loud. Next, I'm going to show you the 9 things you should never tell anyone. Not your friends, not your family, not your partner, no one. Because the moment these words leave your mouth, you've given someone else control over your life. And you can never get that control back. Some of these will seem obvious, others will make you uncomfortable, and at least one will make you realize you've already made a terrible mistake. But if you can master these 9 rules of silence, you will become the most dangerous person in any room. Not because you're aggressive, but because you're unreadable, unpredictable, untouchable. Let's begin. The first thing you should never tell anyone seems like it's about being strategic, but it's actually about something much darker. Machiavelli watched this pattern play out hundreds of times. Someone would have a brilliant plan, a business idea, a life change, a bold move, and they'd be so excited about it, they'd tell everyone, and then nothing would happen. Not because the plan was bad, but because talking about it killed it. There's a psychological phenomenon that happens when you announce your intentions. Your brain releases dopamine when you talk about your goals. The same chemical it releases when you actually achieve them. So when you tell your friend, I'm starting a business, your brain gives you a hit of accomplishment. Even though you haven't done anything yet, you get the reward without the work, and your motivation dies right there. But that's not even the dangerous part. The dangerous part is what happens in the other person's mind when you tell them your plans. Even if they love you, even if they're your best friend, something shifts. Machiavelli called it envy. Modern psychology calls it social comparison. The moment you announce you doing something they're not doing, you've created a threat to their ego. They might smile. They might say that's awesome. But a part of them, often a part they don't even control, wants to see you fail. Not because they're evil, because you just implied you removing a head while they're standing still. And here, what happens next? They start planting doubt. Are you sure that's a good idea? The market is tough right now. What if it doesn't work? They're not trying to help. They're trying to bring you back down to their level. Or worse, they steal your idea. They see the value in it, and they have the resources or connections to execute it faster than you. I've seen this happen dozens of times. Person A tells Person B about a brilliant opportunity. Person B says nothing. 3 months later, Person B is doing the exact thing Person A talked about. When confronted, they say, "Oh, I thought of that too. Great minds think alike." They stole it, and you handed it to them. Machiavelli wrote, "Never let anyone know what you're thinking, and they will never be able to predict your next move." The most powerful people move in silence. They don't announce. They don't ask permission. They don't seek validation. They act, and everyone else finds out after it's already done. So, here's the rule. Keep your mouth shut about your plans until they're already in motion. Don't tell people you're starting a business. Build it first, then mention it casually when they ask what you've been up to. Don't tell people you training for something. Show up transformed. Don't tell people you making a change. Just change. Let your results be the announcement. Let your transformation be the conversation. Because the less you say about what you're going to do, the more power you keep. And the more power you keep, the more dangerous you become. But here's what most people don't realize about keeping your plans secret. The second thing you should never reveal might seem like it's about privacy, but it's actually about survival. Money changes how people see you always, no matter how much they love you. And Machiavelli understood something about human nature that most people refuse to accept. Humans don't want you to have more than them. Not consciously, not intentionally, but deep in the primal part of their brain, your success feels like their failure. And when they know exactly how much more you making than them, that feeling becomes unbearable. Here's what happens. The moment you tell someone your income, if you make less than them, they see you as inferior. They might still like you, but they'll never respect you the same way. You've just told them they're higher in the hierarchy. If you make the same as them, they'll constantly compare. Every purchase you make, every vacation you take, they're calculating. How can they afford that if we make the same amount? But if you make more than them, you've just made an enemy. They won't show it. They'll smile. They'll say, "Good for you." But watch what happens over the next few months. They stop inviting you to things. They make subtle comments about, "Must be nice." They minimize your success. "Well, you got lucky or that field pays well." They start secretly hoping you fail. Machiavelli watched this destroy friendships, families, and political alliances. The moment you reveal your wealth, you become a target. I know someone who told their sibling they made 6 figures. Within a year, that sibling stopped talking to them, completely cut them off. Why? Because every family dinner became a reminder that one was succeeding and the other wasn't. I know someone else who told their friend group their salary. Suddenly, every time they split a bill, there were comments. You can cover it. You make more than us. What was once friendship became resentment because money made the invisible hierarchy visible. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are driven by envy more than by admiration. Your financial success doesn't inspire people. It threatens them. The less they know about your money, the safer you are. When someone asks what you make, deflect enough to get by. Can't complain. I'm doing all right. Never give numbers. Never give details. Never give ammunition. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them project. Because the moment they know, they start calculating. And those calculations never end well for you. But money isn't the only thing that breeds resentment when you reveal it. There's something even more personal that you should never share. The third thing you should never tell anyone seems completely backwards because we re-taught that being generous is good, that helping people is noble, that charity is virtuous, and it is. But Machiavelli discovered something about human psychology that will make you sick. When you help someone, they don't always feel grateful. Sometimes they feel humiliated, and humiliation breeds hatred. Here's the dark truth about good deeds. Every time you help someone, you're establishing a hierarchy. You're the one with power, resources, or capability. They, the one who needed help. You might see it as kindness. They might see it as proof of their inferiority. And when you tell other people about it, you've just humiliated them publicly. Imagine you lent your friend $5,000 when they were struggling. You didn't ask for it back. You just helped. Now, imagine you tell someone else, "Yeah, I helped John out last year when he was broke. Gave him $5,000. What you meant, I'm a generous person." What John hears when it gets back to him, "Everyone knows I was broke and needed handouts. You've just turned your good deed into a social liability for them." They can't escape it. Every time someone looks at them now, they wonder, is this the person who needed $5,000? Machiavelli wrote, "Benefits ought to be conferred gradually and in such a way that the flavor of them lasts, but the memory of them should fade quickly." Translation: help people, but never remind them they needed help. Because the moment you broadcast your generosity, you're not helping anymore. You're collecting social credit at their expense. Watch what happens in families. Parent helps adult child with money, then mentions it at dinner. "Well, we helped you with your down payment." The child feels shame. Resentment builds. The relationship sour. Or in friendships. "Remember when I helped you move? Remember when I gave you a ride every day?" These aren't expressions of care. They're weapons, reminders of debt. If you do something good, do it silently. Let them tell the story if they want to. Let them control the narrative. Because when you tell the story, you're stealing their dignity. And people don't forgive you for that. Help people. Be generous. Be kind. But keep your mouth shut about it. The moment you start listing your good deeds, you've revealed something ugly. You weren't doing it to help. You were doing it to look good. And Machiavelli would tell you, the need to be seen as good is a weakness that others will exploit. Do the deed, forget it, move on. But there's one type of information that's even more dangerous to share than your generosity. The fourth thing you should never tell anyone is the most dangerous mistake people make in the name of authenticity. We're told to be vulnerable, to share our struggles, to open up about our insecurities. We're told it builds connection, that it makes us relatable, that it shows strength. And sometimes it does. But Machiavelli watched something happen over and over in the courts of power that would make you rethink everything you've been told about vulnerability. Every single person who revealed their weakness was destroyed by it. Not immediately, not obviously, but slowly, strategically. Their enemies use that information to dismantle them. Here's what happens when you tell someone your weakness. You think you're building trust. I'm showing you the real me. I'm letting you in. They're taking notes, filing it away, waiting for the moment when that information becomes useful. You tell your coworker, "I'm terrible with confrontation. I hate conflict." What you meant, "I'm being honest with you." What they heard, "I can be pushed around. I won't fight back." 3 months later, they're taking credit for your work in meetings. Why? Because they know you won't confront them about it. You told your partner, "I get really insecure when you talk to your ex." What you meant, "I'm being vulnerable with you." What they heard, "Here's exactly what to do if I ever want to hurt them or control them." Not every partner will use it against you, but some will, and you just given them the button that controls your emotions. Machiavelli wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." But here's what he meant. Smart people don't surround themselves with those who know their weaknesses, because weaknesses are weapons, and you should never hand weapons to people who might use them. I watched someone tell their entire team they suffered from imposter syndrome. They thought it made them relatable. What actually happened? Their team started doubting their competence. When tough decisions needed to be made, people questioned them more. Well, they did say they feel like a fraud. Their vulnerability didn't build trust, it built doubt. Another example. Someone told their friend they were afraid of being alone, thought they were opening up. That friend started using isolation as punishment. Anytime there was a disagreement, they'd ghost, because they knew it would break the person down. Vulnerability is a tool, not a virtue. You should be vulnerable, to be continue,